The chair by the window. Every house keeps one spot where time moves a little slower. For her, it was the chair by the window. It wasn't much, a wooden thing softened by years of sitting, its arms polished smooth by the weight of her hands. Morning light slipped through the lace curtains and rested on its back like a habit the sun had learned. That was where she began each day. She liked to be there before the street woke. From that corner she could watch the light spread across the walls, turning them from the pale of dawn to the color of tea. The air always carried a faint chill then, mixed with the smell of the garden, old soil, damp leaves, a trace of something green that refused to die. She never hurried to open the windows. She preferred to sit first, hands folded, listening to the sound of the house breathing. The kettle would whistle eventually, she would rise, pour one cup, and return. Everything she needed fit within reach of that chair, the cup, the folded blanket, the framed photograph turned slightly toward her. The photograph was old enough that the colors had softened into memory. It showed two people standing in a field, she, younger and brighter, and a man whose shadow fell across her shoulder. He was looking at her, not the camera. She had kept it there for so long she no longer noticed it until the light struck the glass just right. The world outside her window had changed in ways she hadn't. The bakery across the street now sold coffee in paper cups instead of tin mugs. Children hurried past wearing headphones, their laughter replaced by the metallic whisper of music. The postman was new every few months. She learned not to wait for familiar footsteps. Still, she liked to watch. She told herself that observing was a kind of participation. The seasons passed one window pane at a time, rain marking its soft percussion, summer light too bright to look at directly, leaves spiraling down the street like small dancers rehearsing their exits. When the afternoons grew heavy, she would close her eyes and let the sounds drift together, the hum of passing cars, the creak of floorboards, the slow, rhythmic ticking of the clock in the kitchen. She didn't nap exactly, she drifted between remembering and almost remembering. Sometimes the chair spoke through its silence. She could feel the faint give of the cushion, the ghost of old conversations hovering in the air. There had been years when that spot was shared, 2 cups, 2 chairs. She didn't replay the details, she let them surface like distant buoys, appearing only long enough to confirm they were still there. Evening light arrived gently. The room turned amber, and dust floated through the air like slow rain. That was when she liked it best, the hour when everything seemed suspended, before lamps needed to be lit. The chair faced west, and the setting sun painted long bars across the floor, tracing the pattern of the window frame. She often followed those lines with her eyes, as if they were directions back to somewhere she'd forgotten. Visitors came less often now. Neighbors stopped by with fruit or flowers, stayed for a polite cup of tea, then hurried home before dark. She didn't mind. Their brief presence left ripples of life that lingered long after they were gone. After each visit, she returned to the chair, the quiet closing around her like a shawl. One afternoon, a storm gathered unexpectedly. Wind pressed against the glass, and the garden bent under the weight of rain. She sat through it, the house trembling slightly. When the thunder rolled away, she noticed the window's reflection, her own face layered against the world outside. For a moment, she couldn't tell which side of the glass she belonged to. That night, she dreamed of walking through the garden barefoot, the soil cool and forgiving. In the dream, the chair was outside by the fence, waiting for her. She sat down and faced not the street but the horizon, where the sky and sea met in a quiet conversation. She woke with the image still bright in her mind. After that, mornings felt different. The light seemed thinner, the kettle heavier in her hand. She stayed longer in the chair, sometimes forgetting the tea until it cooled. A small weariness grew in her bones, not sadness, but a soft fatigue, like the slowing of waves before they rest. She began leaving the curtains open at night so the moon could reach her. Its light made the room silver, and the chair's shadow stretched across the rug like a companion. She found comfort in that, the idea that even in darkness, something was still beside her. Winter arrived quietly. The garden slept beneath frost. She placed a small blanket over the chair's back to keep it warm, as if furniture could feel. Mornings were slower now. She would wake, dress carefully, and make her way to the window, one steady hand along the wall. Her steps grew smaller each week. But the distance between bed and chair was one she could always manage. The act of reaching it felt like finishing a journey. On a late February morning, when the sun was barely up, a neighbor passing by saw her through the glass, sitting as always, hands resting on the armrest, gaze turned outward. The neighbor waved but received no response. Thinking nothing of it, she continued on. It wasn't until later that someone noticed the stillness in the room, the untouched tea cooling beside her. They found her exactly as she had lived, peaceful, composed, facing the world she had watched for so long. The light from the window framed her in gold, as if the morning had come just to take her gently. In the days that followed, the house filled with quiet footsteps. Relatives came, carrying boxes and flowers, speaking softly as though she could still hear them. They touched the chair but didn't move it. None could bring themselves to. When they finally locked the door for the last time, the room was empty except for that chair, the photograph, and a small circle of sunlight. The new owners arrived weeks later. They painted the walls, changed the curtains, replaced the floorboards. But the chair stayed. They said it looked right where it was. Sometimes, in the late afternoon, when the house falls still, the window catches the same amber light and spills it across the room. The air feels momentarily familiar, as if remembering the rhythm of someone's breath. And if you stand there long enough, you might think you hear the faint creak of wood, a chair shifting its weight to greet the day again. Because some places never truly empty, they simply learn how to hold their memories quietly.